Most people spend their entire lives climbing a ladder that was never theirs to climb. They chase goals that were handed to them long before they learned to question where those goals came from. And the strangest thing is this: you can become successful by every external measure, respected, stable, admired, and yet feel completely lost inside. Because success built on expectations is nothing more than a beautifully decorated cage. You see, from childhood we are given an image to live up to. Be responsible, be impressive, make everyone proud, and step by step, without noticing, we begin constructing a life that looks right but feels wrong. A career chosen because it sounds respectable. Relationships maintained because they fit the picture. Achievements collected like shiny badges, none of which actually touch the heart. The trouble is that when you follow a script written by others, even your victories feel foreign. You achieve something, and for a moment you expect a wave of satisfaction. But instead there is silence, a strange emptiness that whispers, "This isn't you." And that whisper is frightening because it forces you to confront a truth most people avoid their entire lives. It is possible to succeed at the wrong things. Alan Watts often said that our lives become a performance, a role we forget we are playing. And the more convincingly we act, the more trapped we become in the character. When people applaud us, we mistake the applause for fulfillment. When society approves, we mistake the approval for purpose. But deep down, the body knows, the heart knows. There is a quiet tension, a subtle unease, as if you are living someone else's life while your real self waits backstage, uninvited. This illusion of achievement is dangerous because it rewards you for drifting further from yourself. The more you comply, the more praise you receive. The more you sacrifice your authenticity, the more successful the world thinks you are. And so the feeling of being lost doesn't arrive suddenly. It grows quietly beneath layers of routines, responsibilities, and roles, until one day you wake up and realize you've built a life that fits the image perfectly, but not the one who is living it. And this is why so many people, especially the outwardly successful ones, feel an inexplicable fear when they stop working, when they sit alone in silence, when nobody needs anything from them. In that stillness, the mask loosens and the true self, neglected for years, finally asks, "Where have you been?" But feeling lost is not a failure. It is a signal, a powerful, necessary awakening. It means the script is unraveling. It means the life you're living has reached its limit. It means you are finally ready to question whether the achievements you have collected actually belong to you, or whether they are souvenirs from a journey that was never yours. One of the greatest tragedies of modern life is that people spend years shaping themselves into who they think they should be, only to discover that the cost was their own soul. It doesn't happen dramatically. There is no sudden collapse, no obvious moment of betrayal. The transformation is subtle, almost polite. You trade your natural impulses for discipline, your curiosity for practicality, your authenticity for acceptance. Slowly, silently, you become the version of yourself that the world rewards, and in doing so, you abandon the person you truly are. Alan Watts often said that the most dangerous form of conformity is the kind we don't recognize as conformity. You wake up one day and realize you've been following an invisible script, a script written by family expectations, cultural norms, and the quiet fear of disappointing others. But while the world teaches you how to perform, it never teaches you how to listen to your inner voice. And that is the hidden cost. You lose the ability to hear yourself. Every time you push down what you truly want in order to be responsible, a small part of you dims. Every time you silence a dream because it doesn't fit the plan, you shrink a little more. And eventually, you become a highly efficient, socially approved version of yourself, polished on the outside, hollow on the inside. A beautiful statue carved from the living, breathing person you once were. The irony is that external success often deepens the problem. The more your environment rewards this false identity, the harder it becomes to let go of it. People admire your discipline, your stability, your accomplishments, but they are applauding a character, not the actor. And so you keep performing, afraid that if you stop, everything will fall apart. Not just the life you built, but the image people have of you. This creates a strange kind of loneliness. Even when you're surrounded by others, you feel unseen, not because people don't care, but because they don't actually know you. They know the mask, the persona, the polished image you present. And the painful truth is this: if you spend long enough pretending to be someone else, you eventually forget who you were before the pretending began. But the inner self never disappears. It waits. Sometimes quietly, sometimes fiercely. It shows up as unexplained sadness, sudden bursts of anger, anxiety that seems to come out of nowhere. These emotions are not weaknesses, they are messages, signals that you've strayed too far from your own nature. And this is the true cost. You sacrifice your inner world for the sake of an outer one that doesn't satisfy you. You achieve everything you were supposed to achieve only to discover that none of it feels like home, because the life you built fit the expectations, but not the person living inside those expectations. Yet there is hope in this realization. Feeling lost, feeling disconnected, feeling like you are living someone else's life, these are not signs of failure. They are signs of awakening, the beginning of an inner rebellion. The inner self, tired of being ignored, begins to rise and whisper, "You've become who they wanted. Now it's time to remember who you are." There comes a strange moment in life when everything around you looks perfect, yet something deep inside feels painfully wrong. You have the achievements, the stability, the respect, and the image of a person who has figured everything out. On the outside, you are winning. On the inside, you are quietly falling apart. This is the silent burnout, the exhaustion that hides itself behind a perfect appearance. Silent burnout is different from the usual idea of tiredness. It does not shout. It does not collapse dramatically. It does not break you in a single moment. Instead, it slowly drains the color from your days. It takes away your sense of meaning. It creates a fog around your thoughts and leaves you wondering how a life that looks so successful can feel so empty. Most people never notice this happening. They believe that the pressure they feel is normal. They tell themselves that everyone struggles. They repeat the same routines even when their bodies and minds quietly beg them to stop. Success becomes a shield that prevents others from seeing the struggle, and it becomes a cage that prevents you from admitting it. Silent burnout grows from endless responsibility. You keep moving, doing, achieving, because slowing down feels dangerous. The moment you pause, you sense the weight of everything you have ignored. The weariness, the sadness, the quiet fear that you are losing yourself. So you keep working, you keep performing, you keep smiling, and the world praises you for your strength without realizing that this strength is actually your final layer of protection. Alan Watts often spoke about the human habit of living through effort instead of living through presence. Silent burnout is the result of constant effort without inner alignment. You push yourself forward even when your heart is no longer walking with you. You succeed through force instead of flow. And the more you force, the more disconnected you become from the life you are living. The strangest part is this. People who experience silent burnout usually appear more stable and more accomplished than anyone else. They become the ones others admire, and this admiration makes the inner collapse even harder to face. You do not want to disappoint others. You do not want to ruin the image. You do not want to admit that the life you built is now too heavy for you to carry. So the burnout continues in silence. It shows itself in small ways: a loss of enthusiasm, a constant sense of pressure in the chest, a feeling that nothing is ever enough, a confusion about what you actually want, a longing for rest that you never allow yourself to take. But silent burnout is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that you have lived too long in conflict with yourself. You have served expectations instead of truth. You have carried responsibilities that were never meant to be yours. You have pushed your mind beyond its natural rhythm, and now your inner world is simply asking for honesty. The moment you acknowledge this exhaustion, something begins to shift. You recognize that success without inner peace is only half a life. You understand that winning on paper means nothing if you are losing yourself in the process. And for the first time, you allow yourself to breathe, to pause, to question, to rediscover the direction that aligns with your true nature. Silent burnout is not the end. It is an invitation, a quiet call to return to yourself, to rebuild a life that nourishes you instead of draining you, to find a way of living that feels alive again. There comes a moment in every life when the world you built no longer feels like a place you belong to. The routines feel heavy, the goals feel distant, and the person you have become feels unfamiliar. This is not a failure. It is a sign that you have outgrown the life you once created. You are standing at the edge of an old version of yourself, and your inner voice is asking you to move on. Many people fear this moment because change looks like loss. They believe that letting go means destroying everything they worked so hard to build. They cling to the familiar even when it drains them. They hold on to relationships, careers, identities, long after these things have stopped supporting their growth. The fear of uncertainty becomes stronger than the discomfort of staying stuck. Alan Watts often spoke about the flow of life, the natural movement of growth and dissolution. A tree does not cling to its old leaves. A river does not hold on to the shape it had yesterday. Everything alive must release what has completed its purpose. When you resist this movement, you create suffering. When you allow it, you rediscover the freedom of being yourself. Letting go does not mean rejecting your past. It means freeing yourself from a version of you that has done its job and is ready to rest. The habits that once gave you stability may now limit you. The goals that once inspired you may now feel empty. The expectations that once guided you may now feel like chains. This is not a sign of chaos. It is a natural evolution. When you begin to let go, something unexpected happens. The pressure that lived in your chest starts to dissolve. The confusion that clouded your thoughts begins to lift. For the first time in years, you can hear your own inner voice again. It speaks softly at first. It tells you which parts of your life no longer fit. It shows you the paths you were too afraid to consider. It reminds you of the person you were before the world told you who to be. Rediscovering yourself is not about becoming someone new. It is about returning to the simplicity of your true nature. It is about noticing what brings you peace, what gives you energy, what makes you feel alive. It is about choosing presence over performance, sincerity over perfection, truth over approval. You may lose some things in this process. You may walk away from roles that once defined you. You may release relationships that no longer grow with you. You may abandon goals that once made you feel important. But what you gain is far greater. You gain clarity, you gain freedom, you gain connection with the life that is truly yours. Letting go of the life you outgrew is not an act of destruction. It is an act of honesty. It is the recognition that you deserve to live in alignment with your inner world. It is the understanding that holding on to something that drains you is far more painful than stepping into the unknown. In this moment of rediscovery, you finally realize that feeling lost was never a curse. It was an invitation, a quiet signal that your old life had reached its completion, a gentle push toward the next chapter of your evolution. And now, with courage and presence, you are ready to begin again.